Hamjambo familia, welcome to the Black Hot Fire Network, a 54 correspondence show right here on the Black Hot Fire Network. My name is Spikes and I trust that you're doing fantastic. And of course, today being on a Thursday, we are yet back at it. I remember the 54 correspondence show airs every Tuesday and Thursdays at around 12 p.m. And of course, we do trust that you are doing well this particular morning. And this is a show we get to discuss different matters that are taking place across the continent. Just getting to update you what is happening from the south of Africa to the north of Africa to the east and the west. All these particular places do concern us, and we get to agree that we are one people, and therefore, whatever happens in South Africa concerns us. Whatever happens in East Africa also concerns us. Whatever happens in other parts of Africa, all those matters do concern us. And of course, today we shall be focusing on what is happening in West Africa. For a minute now, we have been focusing on the West African nation of Mali. And in case you're wondering, there was a coup that was orchestrated in Mali on the 18th of August. And ever since, there has been a status of somewhat, instability and a lot of uncertainty in this particular country, especially even coming from the threat of the Islamic militants. And as it is right now, we are hearing about the sad situation where there was a recent attack that did strike, from an Islamic militant. And these particular Islamic militants in Mali have left about 20 people dead, which is very, very much unfortunate, because you would expect that perhaps with the transitional government, things would start working out for them. But that is not happening in this particular country. And what it is that 20 people have been left, 20 people are suspected to have been left dead in Mali from the Islamic militant attack.
Violence isn't close to being a thing of the past in Mali. Suspected Islamist militants killed 25 people, including 13 soldiers, in multiple attacks in central Mali over the past few days. Malian military officers said fighters targeted and burned down an army base near the Burkina Faso border before ambushing troops sent as reinforcements. According to authorities, 13 terrorists were neutralized. 12 civilians also lost their lives in circumstances that remain for now obscure. The deadly attacks come just days after scores of jailed militants were freed by the interim government in a key prisoner swap. Since 2015, central Mali has been the home to violence after the arrival of jihadi fighters that benefited from ethnic tensions in the region to recruit militants. If a transitional government has been appointed since the August 18th military coup, many fear Mali could be further destabilized by violence in the central and northern regions.
That is, of course, some updates are coming all the way from Mali, and it's very, very much unfortunate to see what is happening in this particular country. We had thought that perhaps with the, with the transitional government, perhaps they would have much been able to address the issue of the Islamic militants. But nonetheless, so far, as you've seen, there has been a prisoner swap. And these entails, some of the prisoners that had been held by the Mali government, being set free. And of course, what has been happening is that these particular Islamic militants have been holding this particular country ransom for a very, very long time. And this is not just Mali, but even in Burkina Faso, as well as Chad and Niger. We have heard about different attacks in all these different neighboring West African countries in the Sahel region. And this, of course, is by the Islamic militants who have a goal of turning West Africa into, an Islamic region, And Mali, of course, they want to turn it into an Islamic state. And I believe what can be done is really having a concerted effort, by all governments, by all states in West Africa. If the West African countries came together and put in place perhaps a budget to be able to address the issue of the Islamic militants, then perhaps they would stand a better chance at winning this particular fight, because there needs to be a counter. A counter effort on the sides of the West African states. For example, Mali, for example, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and all these countries in the area. If they are not able to work together, then it means that they will suffer from these consistent attacks. In central Mali, we have heard about situations in central Mali in an area called Mopti. And it's very, very much unfortunate now that you're hearing about over 20 people losing their lives in Mali because of the Islamic militants. Some of them involve the civilians. There were 12 civilians that did lose their lives. We also do have the military officers that were also attacked, and there were about 8 of them. And like you said, one of the easiest ways, one of the best ways, not the easiest, or one of the best ways to address the issue of insecurity in West Africa is really having a united military. And this particular military, how I always keep on saying that the governments in the region have to, of course, cater for the cost, because there's no you'll have united a force now without a budget. There has to be a budget also coming in. And of course, I'm talking about the ECOWAS states. These are countries in West Africa, about 15 of them. And not just the ECOWAS, but I believe even the African Union also does have a role to play. When we're talking about the funding of the African Union, by now we should have an African Union army, which can be able to be sent into different areas to eliminate the threats, such threats that different nations are facing. But as we speak, I have talked about these many times over, that the African Union is also lacking in funding, and therefore that is why we do not have this particular kind of a force by the African Union to be able to go and counter any kind of insurgency in any nation, even in the neighboring countries, such as the countries in north of Africa, such as Libya and other different countries that are in war. We have not seen, the African Union being able to send any troops there, because the African Union itself is lacking funding. And without funding, we cannot be able to organize for logistics, for the payment of these soldiers, and all these other different costs that are involved in times of war, just to be able to go and address and bring peace and stability in any region in Africa. And I believe we have failed as an African continent. And these are some of the things that should be, on top of the list, in the priority, when we do have these meetings by the African Union in Addis Ababa, where we do have the headquarters of the African Union. I wonder what particular kind of conversations are happening if we are not having discussions about how to strengthen and to find funding and are creating a strong military force for the African Union, which draws officers or which draws soldiers from all the member countries. We do have so many members of the African Union, And most of these particular countries, some of them have not been able to pay their membership. I do not want to call it a membership fee, but there is a contribution that is supposed to be paid by every member. And I was talking about the country of South Sudan. South Sudan has been in arrears. It hasn't been able to pay its arrears to the contributions to the African Union. And I believe this is not only South Sudan. We are also hearing about other different countries that have not been able to honor their pledges to be able to contribute to the African Union, and therefore the African Union has been left there. I do not like using this example, but I always keep on saying it sounds like it's a dog that does not have teeth. It's a barking dog that does not have teeth. That is why we not have the African Union having a strong military force that can be able to send into countries like Mali. Mali right now might need a bit of assistance because the Islamic militants and insurgents in West Africa has become somewhat too much to bear. And therefore, I believe there should be a concerted effort by the government in Mali, not just by the government, but even by the regional government in the by the regional governments in that particular, by regional states in that particular area, to be able and come to work together with the government of Mali. Nonetheless, this is a 54 correspondence show right here on the Black Hotfire Network, and I trust that you are doing fantastic. I want to thank you so much for being part of the Black Hotfire Network, 54 correspondence show, and we never take your company for granted. Remember, you can get a hold of us using our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, Black Hot Fire Network. We are also on Twitter, Black Hot Fire, and also on Facebook, Black Hot Fire Network radio station. And of course, do not forget our official website, which is www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. And of course, there being on a Thursday, there are lots of things happening this particular week. And of course, what we have been focusing on earlier in the week is a protest taking place in Nigeria. There has been a very, very big protest taking place in Nigeria. The African youth in Nigeria are now tired of the shenanigans and the police brutality, and they have been, protesting to have the disbanding of one of the squads, the police squads, which is actually known as a special anti-robbery squad. The problem is this special anti-robbery squad in Nigeria has been terrorizing the people themselves. You are given a role to try and sort out the matters and prevent a robbery in this particular country, but your role has been to harass people and terrorize everyone, innocent civilians trying to get back home maybe later in the evening, and people going about their business. For example, I heard about one particular situation where there was some young people arrested as they were trying to go for a party. It was a child's naming ceremony. I believe they were going to see they were traveling to go see their relative for a child's naming ceremony. But they got arrested and they were getting harassed. This particular squad wanted to get some bribes from them, and they were actually badly beaten by this particular squad. And the thing is, they do not have any regard for the law because they sort of somewhat believe that they are above the law, and they of course operate with impunity in this particular country, which is Africa's most populated country. And right now, the government, of course, did disband the SARS, which is a special anti-robbery squad. But the problem is they did disband this particular unit and create another one. They created another one, which is called the SWAT, the Special Weapons and Tactics Team. And of course, the people do not have it. We have been addressing this particular matter. And even as today, as we speak, the trend is, the hashtag is still trending, and SARS. And of course, the Nigerian youth are still out there. And there has been a request, or what can I call it, a grievance, urging for the release of the protesters that have been arrested. Some of them also still being harassed and beaten up by the police who are trying to exercise their right to protest. And once you look at Africa and think about some of the things that are holding us back as Africans, critically think and I see what are the things that are actually holding us back. One of the things that is holding us back is a corruption. And a corruption, I have always said right here on the 54 Correspondence show, that the corruption we do have right here is a corruption to do with the police, and that is what we are. That is what has been happening. Not just in Nigeria, because the police are not just in Nigeria, but you have seen this particular situation also go on even in other different places. And of course, let me share briefly this, and then we shall continue. And I think it gets to a point where people get tired. You cannot have oppression of the people by the same systems that are supposed to be protecting them, and then expect that nothing will really happen. Expect that there will not be any kind of repercussions. But nonetheless, let me share these. Let me share these real quick. There was also some meetings involving some of the artists, and this is a conversation involving that particular decision to make sure that there is a removal of this corrupt squad.
This is Just Nigeria coming up today. And SARS protests. Will the dissolution of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad ensure an end to widespread cases of harassment and brutality? Also, impossible is nothing. We'll meet Ghana. Welcome to Just Nigeria from the BBC and Channels TV, where we bring you the stories being talked about on social media. I am Wali Fakile. Let's kick off the program with our top story for today. Now, following days of nationwide protest, the Inspector General of Police, Mohamed Adamu, announced the dissolution of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Despite this order, protesters are still demanding a total reform of the Nigeria police. So, what is being done to ensure justice for victims while improving civil relations between the police and the people? Just Nigeria's Ajoke Ulodse tells us more in this report.
For days, the NSAS movement has become a global conversation. It takes its roots in Nigeria, where young people have unusually taken to the streets, demanding that the government ends the reigns of a notorious group of men in black. The alleged shooting of a young man by officers attached to the Special Anti-Robbery Squad in Ogeli, a town in Delta State, sparked renewed outrage. This certainly was not a first, but would it be the last? SARS was established in 1992 to tackle increasing cases of robbery in Lagos. A few years later, it rose to popularity following some successes recorded in stopping daredevil criminals. In no time, it was replicated in other parts of the country. Several years after, reports of harassment, extortion, and extrajudicial killings began to quell the gains previously recorded by the unit. Over the last 2 years, sporting a beard, wearing a dread, using a particular brand of smartphone, or driving a luxury car could easily fit a profile of an internet fraudster. 21-year-old Tiamiyu Kazim could have been part of Nigeria's youth football team if he had lived long enough. Young, vibrant, and passionate are words his relatives have used to describe him. Popularly known as Kaka, all he ever wanted was to play football. On the 22nd of February 2020, Kaka's dream of playing in a Swedish club was cut short after SARS officials allegedly stopped his vehicle, thinking he was an internet fraudster. What happened from the moment he was accosted by the men in black till he died is clouded by allegations and counterclaims. Several months after, Kaka's death continues to leave a gaping hole in the life of his family.
Since February 22 that I heard about his death, I have been bleeding despite taking lots of medication.
Barely a year before Kaka's death, Kolade Johnson made headlines. He was a football fan watching a match at a viewing center close to home when a scuffle ensued between SARS officers and another young man. 3 gunshots were heard, and Kolade was dead.
They don't know how to describe it. That's not been really fun. It's not easy. Now I've been saying it. We are just trying to cope. Like, okay, we've woken up. Thank God for another day. There's no how you still think about it, or you just move on. But it's still there. It's there. There's nothing you can do about it. It's there. That's just it. That's really easy.
Human rights group Amnesty International documented 82 cases of torture and ill treatment by SARS officers and young people between January 2017 and May 2020. As the number of victims continued to grow over the last 5 years, the hashtag #EndSARS has gained momentum as an annual ritual, birthing widespread demonstration. Regardless of the cries of pain and agony, justice appears to be elusive for victims and their families.
They have not started the hearing at all, because the magistrate said it's waiting for the DPP advice. That is, whether the SARS guys have a case to answer or not. It is the DPP that can let us know that.
Why do they keep adjourning the case for what? I'm tired, honestly. Me personally, I feel it's not going.
Need a professional website? I created one.
And those are some of the families whose relatives have actually been affected, and some of the people that have lost their family in the hands of the SARS. And what you get to realize is that sometimes even the quest for justice for the families of these individuals, it takes way too long before there is actual justice. And of course, if you hear them talking about waiting for the DPP to give their own opinion on whether the SARS have a case to answer, that also takes a very, very long time. And of course, they do say that eventually there is a miscarriage of justice because some of these perpetrators of this violence, the extrajudicial killings, the beatings and all these other things, they go away scot-free. And that is what has resulted to this particular kind of a movement where the people in Nigeria are actually tired. But nonetheless, I do hope that there will be police reforms, which is very, very much critical. Unless we do have police reforms, then we shall be talking about the same problems year and over again. We might be coming back here and talking about this and that has happened. Whereas this is an usual situation where we have been talking about we need some changes and some reforms in the police. We would rather even have some of them getting fired. This is one of the artists that also, of course, was also involved in the conference, and this is what they were pushing for.
And those ones were pro SARS. Like even attacking like Davido, you come Abuja, come protest like blah blah blah. So me going even from Lagos, they're already telling me if you land this Abuja and don't come and join us, that have been sleeping here for days. That was the argument we were having the whole time on the plane. You know what I'm saying? They were like, IG has invited you. Simple, go and see IG and resolve it, because all the protest and seeing the number one in person is more, you understand, it's better than just running around Lagos causing havoc. You understand? But in coming there, just the emotions in them were too much. When I first got to the protest, they were abusing me. You get out of here, and now they come and I had to beg them, like, calm, let's all, because the problem in Nigeria is more than SARS. It's way more. So, like, if you start to even count the problem in Nigeria, it's more than SARS. And now, even America, Chris Brown don't call me. Everybody don't call me. What's going on in Nigeria? I'm like, you understand? For me to be the top artist here and not do anything is impossible. Left to me. And everybody's just like, because your papa get money, you guys work for the government. That's why you don't want to say anything. So I just had to make a stand. Even apart from because of that, just even for the welfare of those people. Me personally, because of who I am, I really never have problem with police. You understand? But like, people suffer. Oh yeah, like even one time, somebody paid me for, I think, a club appearance or something, and the area was not a safe area. The guy even told me it was a different area. The guy paid police. They came to my house. Outside, they were shooting. My son was there, shouting Chioma's name. Come outside, you where your husband. I had to run to my daddy's house to hide. Me, Davido. This last year. You know, we even thought they were armed robbers. You know, and people saw, even the other day, I was driving out. You see it on the internet. I was driving out. 2 guys, just regular. Just on the other, they stopped them. I told the police to release them. They released them. That's one part of the problem. So now this whole SARS they said SARS has been disbanded, which I commend you for listening to the people. I don't think there's any number one of police that's ever really listened to the people. You understand? You listening to us and you disband the SARS. Couple problems that they said to me. One was the redeployment, sir. They said they want to redeploy them to other units. Number one, people were complaining. I feel, you want to tell me the whole SARS is bad? You can't tell me that. There are good people in the force. Even if they are not trained well, we can't really it's not fair to just sack them and say go. Everybody has families, they have kids, they have people they are taking care of. Our 5 demands. This is what. Number 1, immediate release of all arrested protesters. Yesterday, we thank God, everybody was released. But apparently, they said in Abuja. In Lagos, there are still people arrested. Number 2, I think this is the most important point. Justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensations for their families. I tweeted something yesterday. I said, this, out of everything, this is the most important thing. Because even if there's reform and there's change, you cannot change a life that has been lost. That one is 100%. Number 3, setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. I don't agree with that. You cannot, it's impossible to do anything within 10 days. But it's something that should be looked at. In line with the new Police Act, which they just signed, even before this, psychological evaluation and retraining of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed. I agree. So, really, what they're saying is, okay, the ones that did offense, charge them. The ones that didn't do anything, or still retrain them. Even the good ones, retrain them and then redeploy them, which is very important. I'm doing that. And this 5th one, to me, after number 2, which is justice for the deceased victims, number 5 is the most important. After that one, increase police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of citizens. I've seen a video of one police barrack. A beggar cannot stay there. Do you understand? The problem is really funding, benefits, insurance, life insurance, health insurance.
These are some of the ideas that have been proposed by the one Adekele. Is it Adekele? Adekele, who is really a renowned artist in the USA. He goes by the name Davido. And he was saying that, people have been asking him what is happening in Nigeria and what are you doing about it? Being one of the top artists in Nigeria, you should be a voice for the people, and you should be out there with the people, fighting with them to make sure that there is some changes. Changes do not happen overnight, but nonetheless, there has to be a move that signals the start of these particular changes. And of course, disbanding this particular police force was actually a good thing. The SARS squad is actually called the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which has been actually, even some of them have been robbing from the people. You all the squad put together to go and address the issue of robbery, but then again you go and you're the one involved in violent crime and robbing the people that you have been charged to protect, which is utterly crazy if you come to think of it. And nonetheless, I think even some of them need more than psychological evaluation, because some of them, according to what has been circulating on social media, they do not have any kind of a humanity in them, and therefore much more needs to be done. And also the issue of the salaries of the police. I believe the police should be well remunerated, because some of them are involved in all this corruption because of lack of adequate remuneration, and some of them are just pure greed. Most of them, I believe, are pure greed. Even if you to have a salary increase, I think some of them still would continue with this kind of a trajectory, keeping on being involved in violent attacks, and of course terrorizing the people that they have been charged to protect. Nonetheless, we shall be taking a short music break, and now of course we shall be playing us a little bit of one of these particular jams. And this happens to be also a Nigerian artist, and the name of this particular Nigerian artist is Burna Boy. And I believe most of us have come across or interacted with music by Burna Boy, but nonetheless, the name of this particular song is actually called Odugu, and it's by the one and only Burna Boy, right here on the Black Hot Network 54 Correspondence Show.
the girls they shaking yeah, she voodoo. With the person with the cash, she voodoo. Aje, get the voodoo. Aje, get the voodoo. Aje, get the voodoo. Champion, we can't be mad just to go. Out to the sound, what I bounce with the do. Serve yourself, not the matter with the do. I'ma eat this look, move, make a move. I go slide, then you go sing like a boat. Me, I just get laugh like the life is a joke. And I give up girls with they clean with they go. If my friend don't get money, then they can't go. Come back. And I reach you, go down there, can leave me, you do. And I say, cut it down, I put down for you. And nobody can stop you. So we did fly past you. Over any obstacle, you Voodoo, my God, what a symphony. Certain what a certain into me. As a roll, I pull up in a Bentley. And with the dimension on every ring you see. Lights on, I become a touch together. Then want to touch it on my banana. And if you don't get a work, you be Jankara. I beg it to make you go sit down for one corner. All day, but damn, I believe my blood. You know I wanna see. But if I guess with the dirty, look at the lobby. When I reach you, go down there, believe me, you do. And I say, cut it down, I put down for you. And nobody can stop you. So we did fly past you. Over any obstacle.
And of course, that's a jam right there by Burna Boy. The name of that particular song is Odugu, and it's really jamming right here on the Black Hot Fire Network, 54 Correspondence show. We get to discuss different matters and what's happening on the continent of Africa. And talking about Odugu, I happen to discover that Odugu simply means champion, the champion for the people. And, talking about the champion for the people, we also do have one of the champions of the people who goes by the name Robert Tsianguli. I'm not able to pronounce his particular second name, but he is the opposition leader in Uganda, and he has had a lot of problems over the years because of the kind of a system that you do have in Uganda. I would almost call it a system that is actually led by an iron hand. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. It's actually a dictatorship, if I might call it so. And the president of Uganda, who goes by the name Yoweri Museveni, has been in power for 30 years now. And of course, I believe even when I think the only president, this is the only president I believe that Bobby Wine even has known his entire life. But Bobby Wine has been agitating for the freedom of the people from this particular kind of a leadership. And recently he was arrested. He has been arrested a couple of times, not just one time. He has been arrested a couple of times. And of course, different, there are different allegations or claims are brought up against him. And his recent woes include the storming of his offices, by the police force. And they did storm his office and took away some of the most critical information, such as the files and documents. And these are documents with the signatures that are required for anyone to, to submit their bid for the, for presidential candidature. For you to be a presidential candidate and to be registered as a presidential candidate in the upcoming elections, you must prove and show that you have acquired the enough number of signatures from different regions in the country. And in this particular office, that is why he did have all these documents, showing the collecting of these signatures from different regions. But right now, as you speak, I believe later today is a deadline of the submitting of these documents to the electoral body. And it's really even much difficult to talk about this, because even the electoral body itself is very difficult to ascertain whether it's independent, free and fair, because having been run or having been operated by one president, Yoweri Museveni, for all those 30 years, then it's hard for you to expect there will not be any bias. It's hard for you to expect for them to be free, fair, and transparent in the way they conduct the elections. But nonetheless, they have still mobilized. The president, this leader who goes by the name Bobby Wine, has mobilized his people at the grassroots route to see if they can be able to get back those signatures, that they need today, and submit the offices before the deadline. I believe the deadline is today or tomorrow. I'm really not sure. It might be tomorrow. And it's crazy because once they did not expect this kind of a move, but I think by now, they should have started learning how to expect anything from the government. I think, he has been arrested. He has been on house arrest. Sometimes he has escaped, arrest and things like that. It's like they play dodge. That he's always dodging, the bullet from the police, or him trying to be arrested. And he has also led some protests in different areas. And I also remember sometimes back when he wanted to do a concert, but they wanted to arrest him and they banned him from organizing this particular concert because he would draw big numbers of people. I am not confident. That the level, that the playing field is level. I am not confident that the playing field is any level for him, even if he was to be as popular, popular amongst the young voters and popular amongst even perhaps some of the older voters who are tired with the running by the regime. The problem is the system is rotten, from to the core. And I think what might be the real solution. I think what might be the real solution for this particular nation would be And I was saying that it's very, very much difficult for the likes of Bobby Wine or even any other opposition candidate to be able to, garner, or bring people together in a system that is rotten. Because I believe the president has been running it, and therefore he has learned the mechanism, and he owns the whole machinery of the elections. And therefore, even if people were to go there, he will still find ways of trying to, rig it. That is my belief. That is a personal opinion, not the opinion of the network. But that is just one of my opinions. And sometimes back, we had the chance on the Black Fire network. One of our team had the opportunity. One of our team really actually had the opportunity to do an interview with Bobby Wine, and he did speak to Maria. Maria, I believe that was last year. Maria did speak to this particular candidate on an interview with Bobby Wine, and this is how it actually went down. Let me share this real quick. And then we shall continue with the conversation right here on the Black Fire Network.
It's when you're ready to see me, yeah? I'm ready.
Wait,
Okay.
are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Welcome to the Blackwood Fire Network. It's me, Africa, Maria, with my Honorable Chagleni. So, like you guys have always requested me to bring you Honorable Chagleni, I have here